Hey, what's up? I'm Moldover, and I'm here to show you how I've set up my Linnstrument 128 as a studio controller. The Linnstrument is one of a new breed of multi-touch polyphonic expressive controllers, and one thing that I love about it that sets it apart from other MPE controllers like the Haken Continuum or the Rolly Seaboard is that it's got a display. It's got RGB LEDs in this grid, and it's highly configurable. So it's not kind of frozen in one note layout or functionality, and there's a lot you can do to make it more flexible. It's also super expressive, which is something I'll show you a little bit later, but let me show you how I programmed it. So this is the first preset that I set up, and it's to do a really common thing where I want to program like a keyboard part or some harmonies with synths or background, harmonizers or something. And so I really just want note layout similar to a guitar, which is my primary instrument, and I just want notes with velocity. So you can play polyphonically, but there's no pitch bend, just some velocity sensitivity, which is useful for those kind of parts. And over here on the right side, cool thing about the Linnstrument is you can set up a split, and you can do two entirely different things with the left and the right side of the instrument. So I've set it up here in the faders mode just to give me quick controls for the first 8 continuous controllers. So I've just got some modulation, it's the same as turning up the mod wheel on a keyboard, and the volume is number 7. So and you could assign those other ones to do whatever you want. So it's kind of cool to have a combination of faders and note playback on one preset. And then you can switch presets like so. This is one that I set up for programming drums. So drums don't really want the keyboard note layout. That's not important. I use a plugin called Native Instruments Battery to do a lot of drum programming. And their kind of default layout for drum kits is the 12-note keyboard octave. But I actually don't like playing drums on, black and white chromatic keyboard. I think it's way nicer to have pads, but it's nice to have a whole bunch of pads, which is what the Linnstrument can be. So the way I've set this up is the right split here is basically like 12 notes per row. So it's exactly 1 octave of chromatic notes. So it perfectly mirrors how all the kits are displayed in Battery. Almost all of them are like rows of 12 to represent 12 notes in an octave on a traditional keyboard, but basically I've got a drum kit just going up the scale. And that's really nice because it just mirrors what's in the software and, has the functionality of like the 12 notes the way a lot of drum kits are programmed and laid out, but I don't have to play or look at a chromatic keyboard. I'm looking at pads. And the other thing is if you build a really large drum kit like I do sometimes, you can get kind of lost in, a giant 12 by 8 grid of pads like I have there. So I've set up the left side here, more like you'd have on a MPC or some other 4x4 pad grid. So it's the same notes, playing the same drum sounds, but it's kind of easier to play here. And kind of to remember where things are because there's not so much going on. So I kind of think of this as a little performance zone and this more as like the sound design programming zone. So yeah, that's a cool idea. Then I have a preset for programming bass. And so my bass lines, they're usually just monophonic. So this one doesn't even play more than 1 note at a time. And I don't really use velocity sensitivity. So I just turn that off. And I always have velocity set to like 100 or something. Here's where I start using more of the Linnstrument's expressive capabilities, because I do like bass lines that have like modulation and stuff going on, but I don't find it intuitive to like have my left hand on a mod wheel and my right hand playing notes. So so I do use pitch bend here. You can slide freely between notes, And I'll use most often the pressure, the Z control to modulate like something, in this case a filter. So you can do vibrato and be really expressive as a faster way to get that into bass lines. And then here again, because I'll often do multiple modulations with the bass sound, I've got the faders set up so I can control something like effects. And yeah, same functionality as before. And then last but not least, I have a preset that does all the full MPE stuff. So if I want to do something with like some crazy morphing harmonies or, you know, independently moving voices, I could do that. I haven't practiced this instrument too much, and I'm actually like kneeling on the floor, so I won't try to play too much more. But yeah, but that's the full expressivity, and that, you know, is really where this instrument and all these new MPE instruments shine. Is, you know, where you can control three things like I have here. I have like wave shape and filter and pitch up to like 2 octaves. So yeah, it's really expressive like that, and I don't think I programmed it, but you can have the bottom row be a fader, another modulation source as well, which is kind of cool with the MPE because, you know, you want to use more of the playing space for notes. So yeah, I hope that was informative for you. I think that's showing off a few of the features of the Linnstrument that make it really flexible, and that's what I love about it. You can see it's all programmable from the front panel. It's just like a really elegant interface for hardware, and makes it simple to do all the stuff that I've done, and a whole load of other things like arpeggiator, and, you know, you can change the note layout in a million ways and do things with the lights, and yeah, it's just a really really expressive, really flexible, powerful, and for me, intuitive instrument. So yeah, thanks for checking it out.